Appreciate your time and also your interest in the hospitality industry. Could you tell us a little bit about what an economist does for Oregon?
I'm a labor economist, so I focus on jobs, unemployed people, labor force trends, hiring, etc.
Could you provide a general overview of the current economy, and also could you put that in historical context, please?
Yeah, totally. Man, the economy's been going gangbusters across the state. It's been about as good as it's been in Oregon, where we see productivity is high. People have been seeing really strong wage gains in this current expansion. Employment levels have never been as high as they are today. So it's just been, it's been the longest expansion in U.S. history, and that's been the same for us here in Oregon as well. So
over the last several months, we've had numerous conversations regarding the hospitality industry and how competitive it is from a labor perspective. In fact, you took a really interesting approach to looking at this issue deeper, and you published a report called "How Common Is It for Oregonians to Build a Career in the Hospitality Sector?" Could you talk to us a little bit more about your approach to this study?
What was interesting here is we actually grabbed all the accommodation and food service workers, the hospitality workers from 2005, and we said, let's fast forward and watch these workers every year all the way through 2018 and see how have their wages changed, how many of them stay in sort of the in the hospitality industry, and sort of if they leave, are they leaving for other industries with higher wages, etc. And so it's sort of an interesting analysis for us to be able to sort of longitudinally follow this cohort through time and see what happens to them.
In your report, you talk about the high turnover within the hospitality industry. Could you provide more details on that?
Pretty common in some of these leisure and hospitality industries or businesses to see really, really high churn rates. So, a ski resort, for instance, might have well over 50% churn rate from one year to the next, meaning when they're hiring the next year, they're bringing on 50% of their staff will be completely new to the business or the organization. So what we see more broadly, though, is it's 37% is the churn rate for this 2005 cohort. We go forward 2 years and we see that well over half have churned out of the industry completely. We're somewhere around 47% of that 2005 cohort. We're still working in leisure hospitality as their industry of highest earnings just 2 years later. So over 50% churn rate in 2 years is pretty striking, and we don't see that in other industries very often.
Interesting, but there was some good news, right? What did you find out about workers who had stayed within the hospitality industry over 5 years?
Almost like people build a career who have been there for 5 years, they stick with it a bit longer. And so we still saw about 17% of the 2005 workforce still in the industry by 2018. Now that might not sound like a lot. You might be thinking, oh gosh, still, that's a crazy amount of churn out. But that still represents over like 37,000 workers, I think, in the state of Oregon who worked between 2005 through 2018 in this sector. So even though it's a high rate of churn, it is still a lot of folks who are building careers in the hospitality sector.